Hello everyone, Kireth here, welcome to another GT Sport video on the channel. Here for a FIA Manufacturers round at Interlagos. It's a decent lobby, a lot of A+ drivers, S-rated drivers. Rory's in here, EpicTobi's in here. Felipe Carla's in here, there's an E-Monaco driver, so a lot of really fast drivers. I think the lobby split was about 270 points. We'll find out in a bit. And this race really did not unfold the way I was expecting. So I thought certain things was happening in this race, and they didn't. Other things happened. And I also made a big mistake in this session. You can see it here. So we're here for quali. All sorts of shenanigans on the outlap as usual in these kind of FIA splits. I'm not very good at these slipstream qualies. I cannot slot into the right position, and I've made a mistake here because I think I've ended up too close to the guy ahead. And going through this right-hander, I get a better run out the corner, so I do slide it up the inside, and that is really bad practice. And I think the TT is just so strong in the straights and a good pace of this track anyway. I probably shouldn't have been anywhere close to the guy in front, but that's a mistake. I put my hands up. Apologies to the Spaniard there. The guy in front of me on the lap also pulls over, he gets the penalty. So we do give the Augustin guy a tow all the way around to kind of make up for it. And it's a half decent lap, 38.7, and as the lap times come in, that's going to put us pretty close to the top, with Rory just behind in the Mustang. So you can see the split, quite a big split actually, and I get called out here in the chat, which is completely fair enough. That is my mistake. It's something I need to get better at in terms of slotting in for quality. It's not something I have to do in karting. In karting you just get 5 or 10 minutes to barrel around very short laps, but in these FIA sessions in GT Sport it's quite tricky. I'm not very good yet, so yeah, put my hands up for that. Anyway, to the race. This is the first race, by the way, first race video I'm doing on the new computer I built recently, so hopefully everything's working okay. But let's kick off with the race. So we're in third place. We've got Rory right behind us in the Mustang. We've got a Mitsubishi Lancer ahead of us, and then a Scirocco in first place. And this race is really characterised by fuel saving and tyre saving too. So if you don't fuel save, you won't be able to do a no stop, and you have to fuel save quite aggressively. So you'll see me going into fuel map 2 quite often and upshifting quite early, already in 6th gear here. And the tyres as well do become a big problem at the end of the race. I think the tyre wear was ×8 and the fuel was ×5 reference. So what I want to do at this stage of the race is not burn too much fuel, but also keep my options open. So I definitely want to stay in the slipstream of the car ahead, because the guys ahead could be on the one stop or they could be on the no stop. And if they're on the one stop, I want them to pull me along for as long as I can handle the one stop pace, so that makes sense. And I'm always worried that people behind me are going to be no stopping as well and just saving fuel sitting in my slipstream. So that's what I was worried about. You can see Rory here dropped out at the 7/10 slipstream, but then comes back in, and there was a bit of to and fro with that gap to Rory. Sometimes he was out, sometimes he was in, so I was thinking he must be fuel saving very aggressively, and he's basically using a bit more fuel when he wants to come back in the slipstream. And I'm kind of doing the same thing. So you can see here, I didn't have a good exit out of Juncal, I think, which is probably on my weakest corner in the track. But I'm in the slipstream now of the Lancer. I'm going into fuel mode 2. So basically saving fuel now, getting pulled along. And all the fuel we save now is going to help us later in the race. You see the guy in the Scirocco is kind of making a break for it. So at this moment I'm thinking the Scirocco is definitely probably doing a one stop. He's making a break. He's 2 seconds ahead of us now. But I'm not sure about this Lancer. So we're fuel map 2 here, and he's not getting away, so he must be saving fuel. And we've got Rory right up behind us, so I'm thinking let's go for the overtake here. There's no point saving a lot of fuel but being very slow and falling into the cars behind. So we make the move. I think Rory thinks about following us through, and he doesn't. So at this point I've got no slipstream to tuck into, so I'm going to try and make a break and catch up with the guy in first place. And if we have mega pace, I can still convert this to a one stop. and hopefully pit and come out ahead of everyone, if that works. Hadn't really thought that through. But at the very least, should be able to get some sort of gap from the other no stoppers behind that they're going to find difficult to rule back in later in the race. So we've already broken the toe of the guy behind. See, Rory's dropped down a few positions. I was going to say potatoes. Still in the Christmas mode. So there's some battling going on behind, and I'm very glad I'm not part of that. I can just do my own thing, save the tyres here, save the fuel as well. But I am trying to push at this moment. I'm trying to gently catch up with the guy ahead. And to be honest, I just couldn't quite do it. So you can see that gap hasn't really come down, and actually it's just increasing. It's going to get closer to 2 seconds. I'm going into fuel map 1 here to see what I can do, but I wasn't able to catch this guy on pure pace. You can see we're gapping the guys behind, so again I'm thinking the guys behind, they must be no stopping. The guy in front, he must be one stopping. I'm in a bit of no man's land, but I converted it to a definite no stop and just kind of chilled out, upshifted early, tried to save fuel. And you can see at this point Rory is coming back into the picture. So to let you know what I'm thinking, wow, Rory's been sitting there, didn't go for an overtake. He's been in a slipstream pretty much the whole time. He must have saved so much fuel, and I've used a load of fuel in this failed attempt to catch up with the Scirocco ahead. So that's going through my head at the moment. I'm thinking I'm not really in a good position here in terms of the cars behind. The guy ahead, I'm thinking, well, he must be on a one stop because he's pulled out a 3-second lead. And I'm not massively saving fuel. I'm doing the minimum that I need to finish the race. So surely he must be on a one stop. And if he's on a one stop, then that 3.5 seconds isn't going to be enough for him to come out ahead of me, obviously. So I'm feeling good about the gap ahead, but I'm worried about the gap behind. You can see now Rory really catching back in the slipstream. We're okay fuel. We've got a good margin on fuel. I'm thinking Rory must be in an even better place. And he's getting very, very close now. So we go through turn 1, turn 2, upshift up to third very early here. I can cut a lot more of that corner. It just feels quite unintuitive to cut so much. Don't get away with that in iRacing, but in GT Sport you can cut a huge amount. So Rory's now very close. Super, super close. And if he gets close enough for a move, I'm probably not going to fight it too much. A bit like the peloton in Tour de France, the breakaway. Do a flick of the elbow and follow behind. But you can see here we've gone ahead a couple of laps. Rory's still there, but a Spaniard has gone ahead, so the Spaniard is making a break for it. In the movie star team, Mikel Landa. So he's up the inside here, and I'm going to let him go. I'd rather just chill in the slipstream, save a bit more fuel, save the tyres a little bit, let him do the hard work at this stage. And I think Rory's on the same page. And he doesn't make a break for it hugely, so I'm thinking, okay, he's got ahead, but now he's saving fuel. Again, alarm bells ringing. I don't want to just sit behind so slowly. We're going to let people behind catch up. Although if you look at the map in the top right, there's a big gap from Rory to Max Chilton. It probably is. Max Chilton on the autocount, so maybe they have already one stop behind, I don't know. Zooming ahead now to lap 12. Now this is where things got very strange for me. So I thought the guy ahead was on the one stop, but he hasn't pitted, and he's carved out an 8.5 second lead, the guy in first place. And what I wasn't expecting at all, and you may also find this surprising, is Rory here dives into the pits. So Rory, who I was sure was saving fuel in that Mustang, has done a one-stopper very late in the day. So let me know in the comments what you thought about the strategy in this race so far, because that kind of changed things for me, and I realised at this point, hang on, 1, 2, 3, we're all on a no-stop, and I'm massively slower than first and second, so fair play to them. I think the two drivers in the Scirocco, and the drivers behind, I'm guessing they're on one stop, so but again, they're too far behind really. It's an 8-second lead to Max Chilton with 3 laps to go. I mean, he's not really going to reel that in. The tyres weren't that bad. And as we go over the line, you can see that the pack behind us caught up a little bit. But yeah, the guy in first place, V1 Amenti, big congratulations with a 12-second lead. So it looks like the nose stop was the way to go. I mean, we were quite sensible in this race. We did save a lot of fuel. We didn't thrash the tyres. But I was surprised that there weren't more drivers behind kind of sipping fuel. Because the guy in first place, he never had a slipstream. The guy in second place, he made a break for it. So he was without slip. I made a break for it at one point and was without slip. And I just assumed there'd be drivers behind who were kind of sitting there waiting. But actually, I think it was one of those races where you could probably just lose too much time being patient. And you probably actually just needed to go for it a bit. So we take 241 points there. Decent result for us. I think that's going to put us back into top 10 for Audi in manufacturers. I think Rory here goes down to 12th place. And I think there was some incidents coming out of the pit, something like that, on the one stop, which is always a risk. You can see there's some apologies there in the messages. But yeah, an interesting race, a good result for us in terms of the points. Apologies to the Spaniard, Augustin, who kind of ruined their quali lap. I need to get better at that. But yeah, really enjoyed that race, good strategy. I'm going to note it for next time because I think if you've got the core pace at a track, possibly it's worth just making a break for it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. Hope it all worked well on the new computer with the quality and everything. Do feel free to drop a like or even subscribe if you're new to the channel, enjoying the content. Otherwise, see you next time.